Are the ones who came and said, hey, we know where David is. We can come with us and we'll show you the cave to where David is. And so they're
the ones who should have
zipped their lip. That's a good way to remember them, huh? Good way to remember them. And so they come now to Saul at Gibeah, and they're telling him once again, is David not hiding in the hill of Hachilah opposite Jeshimon? So this is the second betrayal of the Ziphites. So Saul arose and went down to the wilderness of Ziph, having 3,000 chosen men of Israel with him to seek David in the wilderness of Ziph. Once again, that 3,000 against the 600 that David has with him. This is all just a repeat. So it's as if Saul has nothing else to do but to plan out these things of, it's a full-time job to figure out where David is and to roust up these 3,000 men and get them all mounted up and ready to go and everybody ready and get him down to where it is he needs to be. It's a big deal. You need to understand that all of Saul's time is being consumed with this battling of David that he has.
It's more fun to do that than to take care of the nation. And
I suppose.
Small little problems.
I suppose.
Kids and
dealing with all of that, huh? And so in verse 3, Saul encamped in the hill of Hachilah, which is opposite Jeshimon by the road. But David stayed in the wilderness, and he saw that Saul came after him in the wilderness. And so David therefore sent out spies and understood that Saul had indeed come. So David sends out the spies. They're checking it out. They're saying, okay, exactly where is Saul? What's going on? How close are they to us? You know, getting the scope of the land as you would do if you were in danger. Someone was coming out for you. So this is his confirmation. Verse 5, so David arose and came to the place where Saul had encamped. And David saw the place where Saul lay. So obviously nighttime they're sleeping. And Abner, the son of Ner, the commander of his army. So Abner is Saul's #1 general. You're going to want to remember Abner. That's a name that you're going to read about. And so he sees Saul and he sees Abner, the commander. Now Saul lay within the camp, with the people encamped all around him. So that makes sense, right? You put the most important guy in the center. You have your people all scattered around you so that they're protected and safe. So, knowing that, think of this. David has to go through a lot of sleeping bodies on the ground to get up to where Saul is, because Saul's in the center of the encampment. And if there's 3,000 men, and they're all circled around him, David has got a lot of territory to cover to get up there. So this is part of the miraculous, supernatural portion of this. So, let's see, we are in 6. Then David answered and said to Ahimelech the Hittite, and Abishai the son of Zeruiah, brother of Joab, saying, who will go down with me to Saul in the camp? And Abishai said, I'll go down with you. So down to the camp. At this point, David is standing up here. He sees what's going on. He sees the lay of the land. These people are people that you might want to get to know a little bit about. The first one is Abishai. We're going to hear about him again. He is the son of Zeruiah. Zeruiah is David's sister. Likely his half-sister, but his sister. So I decided to this week to give you a little, when we get into 2 Samuel, we'll be talking about David's wives and his children. But this time I wanted to give you a little parental line and sibling line in your packet. It tells you, just so that you kind of get to know David's family. So if you want to take a minute and just look at that, you can see, remember his great-grandparents were Boaz and Ruth. His grandfather was Obed. His father was Jesse, and these are his nephews. Now, Abishai is right here. He's the third under the nephews. He is the son of Zeruiah. If you look on the second page that I give you, see David's siblings? Zeruiah is his sister. So what would that make Abishai?
his nephew.
His nephew, right? So he's a nephew through David's sister. And we're going to find out that the nephews will go with David. So there will be family that goes along with him. So this is just for background check for you to look at.
Abigail is his wife.
Yes, but Abigail is also his sister. Not the same.
Different Abigail.
Not the same.
Okay.
Not the same Abigail. All right. Yeah, that would be an even more interesting story, right? So we're not going to go there. So let's see. We will go down, and Abishai's going to go with him. So let's look at verse 7. So David and Abishai came to the people by night, and there Saul lay sleeping within the camp with a spear stuck in the ground by his head, and Abner and all the people lay all around him. And Abishai said to David, God has delivered your enemy into your hand this day. Now, therefore, please, let me strike him. I think he knew David wouldn't do it. Let me strike him at once with the spear, right to the earth. I'm going to go all the way through. Take him down, and I will not have to strike him a second time. So it's obvious. Now, is that if you're being followed by Saul all of this time, I think what Abishai is suggesting is a reasonable thing.
Yeah, let's just get it over with. Stop it.
Yeah, let's stop this right now. Our lives are in jeopardy because of Saul, because if those 3,000 men overtake them at any point, those 600 men will pay the price. And so obviously they want this to stop. So what Abishai is suggesting is not an unreasonable request to ask of David.
Noisy. But it is noisy.
What do you mean it's noisy?
How do you put a spear through somebody without waking anybody up?
Okay, glad you asked that question. Here we go. Let's just talk about that. Verse 8, and Abishai said to David, God has delivered thee. Okay, so a second time. 9, but David said to Abishai, do not destroy him, for who can stretch out his hand against the Lord's anointed and be guiltless? David said furthermore, as the Lord lives, the Lord shall strike him, or his day shall come to die, or he shall go out to the battle and perish. So it's in God's hand, is what he's saying. This is not in your hands, Abishai. It's not in my hands. This is in God's hands. God already has it planned that either he's going to strike him just like he did Nabal, or the day is going to come for him to die. We've talked about the fact that everybody has a day appointed to them. Or he's going to go out into battle, and he's going to perish while he's in battle.
This is one of those things that David learned.
Yes.
Previously.
Yeah.
That God is the avenger.
Exactly. Especially our last chapter that we were just in. This is in God's hands to be the avenger. The Lord forbid that I should stretch out my hand against the Lord's anointed. But please, take now the spear and a jug of water that are by his head, and let us go. So I think that he's very wisely learned the lesson of the robe, and he's saying, take his spear and take the water jug and let us go. So now at this point, they've come all the way through the 3,000 men, They're in the center, close enough to take the spear out and to take the water jug, for very similar reasons as the same reason that he cut off a piece of the robe, as evidence that they were right there. So David took the spear and the jug of water by Saul's head, and they got away. And here you go, Jane. And no man saw or knew it or awoke, for they were all asleep, because a deep sleep from the Lord had fallen on them. So they're not just sleeping. They're not dozing. These are military men. You step on a branch, you step on a leaf, they're awake, right? They sleep with their weapons in their hand, and they're ready to go. This is a supernatural sleep that the Lord has come down, and these 3,000 men are snoring logs when David comes up there, and nobody is going to awake. Abishai certainly could have pulled that spear out, stuck it right through. Nobody around him would have heard a thing. They would have woken up, and Saul would have been dead had that happened. Now David went over to the other side and stood on the top of the hill afar off, a great distance being between them. Why would he do that? Safety, right? You don't want to jump up, and I don't know what time God woke all these people up, but David called out to the people and said to Abner, that's Saul's general, the son of Ner, saying, do you not answer, Abner? And Abner answered and said, "Who are you calling out to the king?" So David said to Abner, "Are you not a man? Are you not a valiant, brave man? And who is like you in Israel? Why then have you not guarded your lord the king? For one of the people came in to destroy your lord the king." So this would have been a deed worthy of death. If your charge is the king and the king dies, you're going to die too, because you didn't do your job in protecting the king. David is using a little bit of sarcasm here, isn't he? Hey, big brave man. Hey, you big brave man in Israel. Did you not notice that somebody came in and was after your lord the king? The thing you've done is not good. As the Lord lives, you deserve to die because you have not guarded your master, the Lord's anointed. And now, see where the king's spear is and the jug of water that was by his head. So I'm guessing that David's holding those things up for
Almost
him
like
to...
a neener, neener,
Yeah,
neener.
look what I have here. So he's far enough away to where he can't be ambushed or can't be, they can't attack him. But he's close enough to where they can see that he has those things that were the king's. So Saul knew David's voice, verse 17, and said, "Is that your voice, my son David?" David said, "It is my voice, O Lord, O King." So once again, he recognizes his voice, just like he did before, and he said, "Why does my Lord thus pursue his servant?" You know, David, you've asked this question 1,000,000 times. Saul's never really given you an answer, has he? Do you ever remember Saul coming back with an answer?
No.
Why are you after me? And Saul saying, "Well, you stole from me," or I think you're going to try and take my throne, or you took my daughter when I didn't want you to. Nothing. There's never a reason. Never any reason why that. What if
it's gone on so long, maybe he don't even know why.
Yeah.
He just wants it done.
Like an argument that you can't remember why the argument started, but you're still mad? Yeah.
He just wants it.
Yeah. So what have I done, and what evil is in my hand? Now therefore, please let my lord the king hear the words of his servant. If the Lord has stirred you up against me, let him accept an offering. So if this is something I've done and God is the one that's causing you to come after me, let me make a sin offering. Let me make all the offerings that I need to make and repent of my sin. Tell me what it is I did so that I can do that. But if it's the children of men, who would that be? Those 3,000 men, or the people in his kingdom, or whoever it is that has the ear of Saul and is yeah all the time in Saul's ear. If it's something else, may they be cursed from before the Lord, for they've driven me out this day from sharing in the inheritance of the Lord, saying, "Go serve other gods." So what he's saying here is that it's because of them that I'm being driven out of the land. This is our land. This is our inheritance. And I'm being driven out of where it is that I am supposed to be and into a foreign area where what would I do? Go serve another god? Go serve other gods? So he's saying that I'm outside of where I should be. This is not how it should be, Saul. So now do not let my blood fall to the earth before the face of the Lord. For the king of Israel has come out to seek a flea, as when one hunts a partridge in the mountains. He's used that before. Remember before when he said, "I'm just a flea? I'm just a nothing. Why are you after me?" This is an interesting little thing about the partridge in the mountains, because the way they used to hunt the partridges are you chase them down until they become exhausted, and then you just hit them with a stick and they die.
Oh.
So you just chase partridges. You chase them all around and they die. And that's the primary method of hunting them. So he's using that appropriately. He's saying, "You've chased me all over, and what are you trying to do here? Hunt me down like a partridge, running until I'm exhausted." So Saul says, "I've sinned. Return, my son David." Return where?
Oh my God.
I guess. Return to the palace? Return? Come back. Come back, David. I've sinned. I will harm you no more. because my life was precious in your eyes this day. Indeed, I have played the fool and erred exceedingly.
Until the next time.
Until the next time,
Yeah.
when I might stick you with a spear.
You know, when we were talking about it back in, I think it was chapter 24, was he had he repented, or was he just scared? This
Yeah.
almost answers that he
Yeah.
was just scared.
Absolutely, absolutely, because then he just starts right back up again doing what he's done all along. And so this is just a repeat of that. And just as a side note on the fleeing outside of the land, do you remember a prophet who went to flee outside of the land of Israel? Fled outside the land of Israel. Jonah, remember Jonah? God wanted him to go and speak to the Ninevites, and he goes and tries to flee the land. I think that's where I get the connotation of going outside of the land on this one. So come on back, come on home, David. I've really messed up, and just come back to the palace. And David answered and said, "Here is the king's spear. Let one of the young men come over and get it. May the Lord repay every man for his righteousness and his faithfulness. For the Lord delivered you into my hand today, but I would not stretch out my hand against the Lord's anointed. For indeed, as your life was valued much this day in my eyes, so let my life be valued much in the eyes of the Lord, and let him deliver me out of all tribulation." Once again, David's giving the Lord is orchestrated this. The Lord placed you within my reach, but I would not go against the Lord's anointed. Let my life be valued in the eyes of the Lord. Let your life be valued in the eyes of the Lord. Let's just all get along here in this. So how does Saul answer that? Saul said to David, "May you be blessed, my son David. You shall both do great things and also still prevail." Remember earlier he had said you're going to be king.
Yeah.
And here he is. You're going to prevail. You're going to do great things. I mean, deep down in his heart of hearts, Saul knows that. He knows that. So David went on his way, and Saul returned to his place. Why do you think David didn't go home to the palace?
It's like, well, that's schizo.
I find it interesting, though, that Saul didn't, insist. He didn't go get him or try and get him or force him to come home. He invited him to come home.
It's interesting because Saul is chasing David, and David's going to become king. So what is going through Saul's mind for all this?
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
He likes
Especially
hunting.
this part.
Huh?
He likes hunting.
He likes hunting, and he obviously is not of sound mind, right?
No.
He just continually goes back and forth. I feel like that Saul probably has,
Schizo?
yeah, demons that
mental
come
illness,
and speak to him and get him all riled up, and then he has moments where he seems to be
Yeah.
relatively clear. Mom, can you go shut those 2 windows in there for me that I opened earlier? It's starting to get cooler.
It doesn't really make sense.
Saul's behavior doesn't.
No.
He wants to stay the ruler, really. Saul
Huh?
does.
Saul, he'd like to, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
He hasn't ever willingly stepped down.
No.
But he
Has
hasn't
he?
been doing the business of
I
a king.
know that, but
Yeah,
he just thinks if he could ever get rid of David, then
Yes.
he could just still be king.
right.
But
And
I won't. He knows that he won't. So it's like, I need to get rid of him, but I can't. But I
So-
will keep trying.
yeah, I'm gonna keep on trying because maybe I can change the Lord's mind. Maybe I can I can fix this. One of the interesting things is that in this story, this is the last time that David and Saul are going to interact with one another. So just as we talked about earlier, it was the last meeting of Jonathan and David. Now we're going to see that this is the last time that Saul and David will interact with one another. Okay?
One of the things that I think it was said last week, but I'm not sure, was that, and David seems to always forgive Saul for what he's done, and tells him that.
Yeah.
But you can forgive someone, but trust is earned.
Yeah.
And so Saul has not shown any sign
That he should be
that
trusted.
he should be trusted.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. He and David does. He just keeps telling him, "Let's just not fight about this. Let's
I
just
think
not fight."
he knows, he learned that lesson of he isn't the avenger.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
he just keeps being meek and humble about it.
yeah.